Small Business CARES Act Town Hall. Today, we're going to walk through several of the federal projects and programs that are available to small businesses. And hopefully by the time we get done, we'll have covered several of the topics. We're going to cover a Paycheck Protection program today. That's going to be my guest, Terry Strain, who's the Executive Vice President for Western State Bank. And then followed by covering the Small Business Debt Relief Program and Renee Luzon Ben, who is the president of the Greater Casa Grande Chamber of Commerce. And then we'll talk about the economic injury disaster loans and emergency economic injury grants. And that will be covered by our city manager, Mr. Larry Raines. And then I'll kind of wrap up the information piece with a discussion on small business evictions, Arizona executive order, and then also talk a little bit about Governor Ducey's executive order he put out on Tuesday regarding restaurants. So we'll hopefully cover some of those areas, and then we'll open it up for question and answer. And as we go through this process and the information portion, if you do have a question, go ahead and send it to us. You can type it in under the chat area, and then we'll try and get to as many questions as we can. And if we can't get to them all, we will definitely get you a response. So without any further ado, I'm going to cover a little bit about what the CARES Act is. And so if you're hopefully you're all familiar with it, the program which initiates, it's called the Corona Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, which the acronym is CARES, C-A-R-E-S, Act. It was passed by Congress. It's intended to assist businesses, business owners, with whatever their needs are right now. When implemented, there'll be many new resources available to small businesses, as well as certain nonprofits and other employers. So this is also to help benefit the employees as well. A lot of the money is expected to get passed through the business down to the employee level. So then that being said, a lot of this is being handled at our local banks, and I'm going to introduce one of our local bankers, Mr. Terry Strain. And Terry, if you wouldn't mind kind of give your opinion and expertise on what's called the PPP loans or Paycheck Protection program. Terry, it's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a little background. The program is designed to provide cash flow for businesses to continue paying their employees. I would strongly suggest that you get in contact with your lender and work with them directly. The loan will be guaranteed 100% by SBA. There are no loan fees. There's no origination fees, no collateral. There is an application that needs to be completed and then supporting documentation proving your payroll history. So that's the last 12 months, and it's easy to supply that information. It would be from your 941s and your 940s. And you can use the 2019 940s and 941s. And then for 2020, you would need at least February payroll records showing how many employees you had and how much you paid. So to determine the amount that you're eligible, you take the average monthly payroll over this last 12 months and multiply it times 2.5, and that's the amount that you would be eligible for. The funds can be used for payroll expenses. They can also be used for mortgage interest and for utilities and rent. Now, a portion of this loan can be forgivable. Some of those guidelines are changing just a little bit as time goes on. And what's going to be forgivable and what's not will somewhat be determined by how much of approved loan totals are used. So there was 345 billion approved for this. And as it gets closer to that amount, then they're going to concentrate more on strictly payroll costs and less on utilities and rent and mortgage interest and those items. So the interest rate on this loan is at 1%. It's set up for 2 years. There will be no payments for the first 6 months. However, the interest clock starts ticking on day 1. Now, there have been some rumors in the community that banks are running out of money and those kind of things, but right now there's still an ample supply of funds available. The SBA is working through this as fast as they can, and your local banks are as well. If for some reason you contacted a lender that was unable to lend in the last week or so, please contact them again, because more than likely they've got their situation ironed out, where now they do have funds approved again.
Hey Terry, just to add to that, I was on a call today with Senator Sinema and also Senator McSally, and they actually had people on that had information as of today in this PPP loan program that they have administered 500,000 small business loans as of today. This is nationally. And it represents $128 billion in loans. There's still 349, 345, depending on who you talk to. There's $349 billion they put into that pot. So it's still money. So I've heard a couple rumors that people were being told the money's gone. That's not true. I just want to make sure that that's very clear. There's 4,000 banks across the country that are administering these loans, so make sure you get with your local lender. I think Terry had mentioned that already. And so there is still plenty of money. I wouldn't wait till the last minute, because you have to have this done by the end of June if you're going to qualify. But certainly don't worry that the money has all been spent. Did you want to add anything else, Terry?
No, there is a little bit of time involved in this process. So, the first few days we had quite a wave of applications, and it's slowing down just a little bit. So the time frame of when you apply and when funds are available is shrinking. So it's getting more manageable. We're issuing funds as of today. So as long as you have a complete packet, and that's why you need to visit with your lender, make sure that you have everything in there that you need. And, the process is somewhat painless. So.
For them to already be issuing loans, that's amazing, actually, that we're actually moving forward. I also know that starting tomorrow, the loans will be opened up to independent contractors as well. So they can start applying for loans tomorrow through this same program.
Correct. So if you're a 1099 employee as opposed to a W-2 employee, you can file starting tomorrow.
Great. Thank you, Terry. All right. So next, let's get some questions up for Terry. If you have some specific especially to the Paycheck Protection program, and then let's move to the Small Business Debt Relief Program. And Renee Luzon-Ben, our president of the Greater Casa Grande Chamber of Commerce. Renee, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, Casa Grande. So I'm here to talk about the SBA Debt Relief Program. This is part of the SBA's debt relief efforts. And through this program, the SBA, the Small Business Association Administration, will automatically pay the principal, interest, and fees of current keyword current, 7A 504 and microloans for a period of 6 months. SBA will also automatically pay the principal, interest, and fees of new 7A 504 and microloans issued prior to September 27th, 2020. This does not include payment of the PPP program, the Payment Protection Program, Paycheck Protection Program. Additional debt relief is for current SBA serviced disaster home and business loans. If your disaster loan was in regular servicing status as of March 1st, 2020, the SBA is providing automatic deferments through December 31st, 2020. And what automatic deferral means is that interest will continue to accrue on that loan. 1,201 monthly payment notices will continue to be mailed out, 1201, which will reflect the loan is deferred and no payment is due. Deferment will not cancel any established pre-authorized debit, PAD, or recurring payments on your loan. So borrowers that have established a PAD through pay.gov or an online bill pay service are responsible for canceling these recurring payments. Borrowers that had SBA establish a PAD through pay.gov will have to contact their SBA servicing office to cancel that PAD. Borrowers preferring to continue making regular payments during the deferment period may continue remitting payments during the deferment period. SBA will apply those payments normally as if there was no deferment. After this automatic deferment period, borrowers will be required to resume making regular principal and interest payments. Borrowers that canceled recurring payments need to reestablish their recurring payments. And that's pretty much a summary of the small business SBA debt relief program.
Great. Well, thank you, Renee. So let's move to the next item on the agenda, which is
Mayor.
Yes.
Just one quick thing. I am working. We've been working to gain data on those lenders in our community that are working with these programs as well. So we're hoping we'll have that up on the Chamber's website as well as make it available to the city.
Okay, and it should be noted, I know that several of the banks are helping their customers first. And that I know that they will open up to non-customers here as soon as they get their main customers taken care of. So if you haven't had any success finding a banker yet, be patient. I'm sure in the next week, things, as Terry said, things are slowing down a little bit in terms of the application they're receiving. Okay, so let's move to Mr. Larry Rains and let's talk a little bit about economic injury disaster loans and the economic injury grants. Larry, Mr. Rains.
Hello, Mayor. Thank you. I want everyone to know that the mayor and I are social distancing while we're in the same office, City Hall. We're in two different conference rooms, right, Mayor?
That's right. That's right. And I have my sanitizer right here. See?
Exactly. I have mine as well. I'm going to provide information related to the economic injury disaster loan / emergency economic injury grant. And I know there's been a lot of information that's been out there, particularly related to the grant. Also, this particular program is also known as the SBA disaster loan, but essentially as part of this CARE Act, the SBA has been given an extension of this disaster loan program in an effort to try to expedite. And we'll talk a little more about expediting here in a second. But what you'll find is that through the emergency grant, the federal government has allocated $10 million to provide loans and grants in this expanded program. So let me spend just a quick second on this grant component. We've received a lot of calls here at City Hall, a lot of emails related to this. And I would encourage all business owners to utilize the city's website and a variety of the SBA website that's available to actually become more familiar with which program best fits their needs. But as far as this economic injury disaster loan and grant program, small businesses can request $1,000 per employee up to the $10,000 cash advance for their loan. Some of this may not need to be repaid. The mayor and I actually were on a conference call later this afternoon, and we learned that while the SBA and many of the promotional pieces related to this program are indicating that the funds and the money can be available within 3 days, the reality of it is, because of the amount of requests that have been made, it's taking longer than the 3. But we're encouraging our local businesses to look at this program to ultimately determine whether or not this is something that you qualify for and make application. But know that because of the volume and the intensity of that these past couple of weeks, it may take more than 3 days. I do want to cover, Mayor, if I can, just a little bit about the actual loan itself, because the $10,000 is actually established as a grant, but the loan can be up to $2 million to help meet the financial obligation and operating expenses as a result of the disaster. Again, businesses will have to fill out an application that will ultimately drive much of the financing options. I want to talk a little bit about who's eligible, because that is a common question that we've been getting here at the city. And the key elements for who are eligible through this program are businesses that have been in operation since January 31st, 2020. So if you're a brand new business since January 31st, 2020, you are eligible. You must have 500 or fewer employees. Under this particular program, sole proprietorships with or without employees, as well as independent contractors, are eligible. So I know that we have a number of our local businesses that, as an example, may work in a salon or some type of a business where they're renting a chair or renting space. This particular program is actually open and allows those individuals operating, as Terry had said earlier, a 1099 type of a business to make application. There are a few additional items, such as cooperatives and employee-owned businesses, tribal small business, and nonprofits that are 501c3, D, or E. Now, with the loan program, and you've heard some of the updates already, these are repayable. There's an interest rate that's established with them. For this particular program, depending on the amount that's borrowed, you ultimately can have up to 30 years to repay the loan. And there's also a 12-month deferral period. And the loans can be made specifically for maintaining payroll, making rent and mortgage payments, utilities, and meeting increased costs to obtain materials.
Hey, Larry, one thing too I wanted to put out there as well is that on our call, Senator Sinema said that some of these loans have been delayed. It was supposed to be, you get the $10,000 immediately, like 3 days.
Right.
And that's apparently not been happening. So she has asked that anyone who is having trouble, if you've applied for one of these loans that Larry just described, either the economic injury disaster loan or the emergency economic injury grant, that you're not getting any satisfaction, meaning you're not hearing anything, please send her an email, and I'm going to give you an email address here. It's casework, so CASE work at Sinema, and Sinema's SINEMA .senate.gov. So send in the subject line, put PPP questions or economic injury disaster loan, put something in there that indicates what the body and your question is going to be. And she said that her people will bug the SBA until she gets some answers. So I think we can give her some help and give her some ammunition to help us back in Washington, D.C.
And Mayor, if I could add one thing, we've also received questions from some of our local businesses asking specifically if they can make application to both the EIDL and the PPP program? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. That's right. Thanks, Larry. Thanks for that. Okay. So I think that covers most of the major programs. I did want to cover a couple other pieces that I think are important. The small business eviction executive order that was signed by the governor this week, that small business eviction order basically says it halts evictions in the state small business and nonprofits that are unable to pay rent due to financial hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. So this order is in effect on all evictions until, and it will halt until May 31st of 2020. So he could extend that if necessary, but you have some cover at least until May 31st, 2020. And then the other piece that he signed this week, which I wanted to kind of share with everybody, is it's another executive order that allows restaurants to repackage food and resell it. That is not normally allowed, but he's signed an executive order that will allow all the restaurants. I know if you have a lot of food on hand, that you can repackage it and you can resell it. In fact, I know some that have actually resold it to some of the food banks. The Maricopa Food Bank accepted some food from another retailer in Eloy, and so it helped refurbish their food bank. So those are the two that I wanted to cover. And then just also as a reminder, I know that Easter is coming up, and I want to wish everybody a happy Easter and a good Friday tomorrow. We need to make sure, the kids on Easter, they stay as normal as possible. But I also want to remind you that we are in a stay-at-home order, and that we need to make sure we follow that physical and social distancing, maintaining that 6-foot distance, washing your hands frequently, wearing a mask when you're out in public, especially if you're going to the grocery store, and don't touch your face, right? Also, reminder, please avoid our seniors, especially those with compromised immune systems. Stay home, and stay home if you feel sick. Stay home if your kids are sick. So let's try and cut this thing. We did get some numbers from the national, and it looks like it's starting to level off. Some of the numbers that they gave showed the mortality rate slowing and also showed the infection rate slowing. This is on a national level. In Arizona, that's not the case. We're still on the uptick in terms of the infections and our death rate. So we still need to be vigilant, still need to be careful. And I just want to remind everybody to do what you can, and let's curb this coronavirus. Okay. So that being said, if you have some questions, please feed them our way. I wanted to leave plenty of time to answer any questions. And again, if you have some even later on, please send us an email, send it to me, send it to Larry. We'll get you an answer. Send it to Renee. And I'm looking at some of the questions here. Most of them are say hi. Anna Nicole also mentioned that loans will be open for independent contractors, which we said that's starting tomorrow. So thank you for that, Anna. And then let's see, we have one from Diane Pritchell. Diane Terry wants to know, what's the percentage of loan applications received to what you have paid out as of today? Not to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's fine. Diane, thanks for your question. This first week was really pretty slow. So it was very busy on getting applications. It was slow going through the process to get everything approved and then money out the door. We did not get the final loan document verbiage from SBA until late yesterday. So applicants that applied on Friday started receiving their loan documents yesterday and today. And then as soon as they sign those loan documents and return them to us, then funds will be started trickling out today, and the spigot will be pretty well turned on starting tomorrow. Now, going forward, it should not take that long, but I would, you better allow yourself a week, but hopefully we can beat your expectations.
Great, thank you, Terry. So I've got another question here from Michael. Does the stimulus check go off gross adjusted income, and does it affect your income tax for the year? All right, so I think you're talking about the individual income tax checks that the government's going to be sending out. It's $1,200 per adult and then $500 per child in the household. No, it doesn't. It doesn't affect your income tax, and it will not affect it next year either. Even though in the verbiage, it's called an income tax advance. They had to do that. The IRS had to do that in order to legally put the money out this year. But I am told, and we just heard this in today's meeting, that it will not affect next year's income tax returns. They'll be your normal returns. It will not affect this year's returns. This money is tax-free, and it should not affect anything in terms of your taxes this year or next year. So does anybody else have any other questions? If you do, please type them in. I do have a couple things I want to hand out. And we'll put this on the website with this presentation, because it is being recorded. So if you know somebody who wants to take a look at it, you can find it on our Facebook Live, and we'll probably also have it on our city website on channel 11. It'll be streamed. And then, but I want to give out a couple of websites. If you have questions and you want to research some things, you can go to casagrandeaz.gov. That's the city's website, /COVID, COVID 1919.gov, or not dot. It's casagrandeaz.gov /COVID-19. And then you can find small business information there. You can also find updates on all of the releases from FEMA. You can find the governor's executive orders and or links to them. Another site that you can go to is the Arizona, and spelled out Arizona together.gov. That's the state's website. And if you, in fact, Renee, can you rattle off the chamber's website for me, please?
www.casagrandechamber.org. If you just click to the link at the top of the page, there's a whole plethora of COVID resources.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else you want to add?
Well, sorry, you threw me with the question. I just want to remind everyone to be safe and to stay healthy, and more importantly, to shop local and support local everywhere they can. I know that we have resources out there reminding us what restaurants are open, but the chamber is working on a public, not chamber website, but a community website for all community businesses, members or not, to hear their information. So if you go to the chamber's website, there's a post that's pinned and there's a survey there. Fill it out, let us know you're open, and you'll get on the website too. We want our businesses to thrive.
Great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Renee. Also, I mentioned Senator Sinema's website, or her email. We'll also post that on this for later. But again, it's casework@sinema.senate.gov. All right. I see there's a question here from Mr. McGuire. John, good question. And yes, we're working. His question, let me read it. Is the city looking into moving any projects possibly forward to get activity going ASAP? And the answer would be yes. In fact, on the call today with the senator, she asked us for a list of shovel-ready projects So we're going to get her every shovel-ready project I can find, and we'll send it to her so she knows what she can help us with from the federal standpoint. There's a project we're working on, which we announced about 3 weeks ago, about the same time this whole COVID-19 deal came down, which is Nacero, which is the conversion of natural gas to gasoline. It's a $3.2 billion project, and we need some help from the federal government on that in that regard. So we will work with our Congress and the Senate to see if we can't help that, get that stimulated to get it started, because they're looking at another project in Kingman. So if we could get those two projects started in the state of Arizona, that would be a huge stimulus to the economy, along with getting Lucid and making sure Lucid moves forward. There's a couple other projects that are coming down the pipe. So we're going to make sure that we communicate that to her and make sure we get those projects moving as soon as possible. So when we do get back up and running, we're going to hit the ground running. That's our goal. So we'll continue to work towards that. Next question I have here is, when will the state be offering the Fed stimulus of $600? This is on unemployment. There is word that will be released. The federal unemployment dollars will be released next week. We heard that in today's meeting with the governor's office. And right now it's $240 in unemployment from the state. And then the feds have added another $600. So we're hearing that should be released next week. So hopefully that answers your question. And then that's all I've got in there. So anyway, if I missed anybody, we'll make sure we follow up. I do want to just thank everybody for everything today. Again, we'll put these websites on there for you. I am going to look at, and just to give you kind of an update from today, if you haven't heard, we have total in the state of Arizona 3,018 identified cases. There's 89 deaths in the state of Arizona, 137 cases in Pinal County. And most of those are most of the 3,000 are in Maricopa. They have 1,689 identified infected people. And just to give you an update, I've been trying to fight the county and the state to get us additional information and get us more detailed, more granular infection information. And we have prevailed, all the mayors, myself included, and with some help from our senators, have put some pressure on the governor, and they are going to start releasing, and we should see the detail level starting on Sunday. On Sunday, we should start to see that information on the State of Arizona Health Department's website by zip code. So that will give us a little better view of where, if we have some potential hotspots or if we don't. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be diligent and shouldn't assume that the person that you're walking by on the sidewalk may not have it or does have it. So we need to assume that they do and be cautious. So that being said, I know in addition to that, they will start putting that out on Sunday. So that's the latest on that. I know we have a couple of other things here. Missed my question. Did I miss your question, Jack? Oh, okay. So here's Jack's question. I did miss it. Sorry, Jack. What's considered for the loan approval? Is there a minimum revenue threshold, or, for example, a recently formed LLC in the latter part of last year? Terry, can you answer that? I don't think there is, but I'll let Terry answer that.
So for an LLC that opened, say it opened in January of 2020, you would still apply, and then your average, instead of 12 months, since you wouldn't be there, it would just be January and February. So even if you open, say in October of 2019, you'd have October, November, December, and then the first 2 months, and then you would take that average. Can you refresh my memory on the forgiveness part of that question?
Here it is right there, Terry.
Okay. So for loan approval, it's your average monthly payroll times 2.5. And then you have to complete the application and make some certifications. So for example, your employees need to be US citizens, and there's other questions on there. And as long as you pass those, you should qualify as long as you completed your application correctly and you have the supporting documentation to justify the amount that you're requesting. So there's really no minimum revenue amount.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, I have another question here while you're here, Terry. The forgivable portion of the loans, will businesses have to claim that as income for the following year? I know you're not a tax guy, but.
That's a very good question, and I don't know the answer to it. So let us do some research and see what they've decided. Now, some of these rules are changing as the program progresses. So I'll do some research and give you the best answer to that question that I can.
Yeah, that is a good question. I won't even venture to guess. We'll get you an answer, John. Did I miss anybody else? Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, here's one from Michael. What if your employees are working on a work visa?
So as long as they live in the United States,
Yeah, I think they count.
it should be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, let me know if we missed something else here before we sign off. I just want to, again, thank everybody for being on the call today. We're going to try and do this again here in the next week or so. I'm also going to try and do a weekly, at least a weekly program where I can give you an update in terms of where we're at and what the plan is with regard to the infections and what's happening with the state and what's happening with your community. So we'll try and do that and give you a little more of a verbal update. But I also want to thank everybody for being on the call today. And if you have some questions, send us a note, give us a call. We're here to answer any questions and try and get you the answers that you need. All right. Wait, one more here from Lily. What was the answer? Oh, wait. Hang on, you're jumping around now. What was the answer to the stimulus question? Okay, not quite sure what the question was. What was the original stimulus
The stimulus
question?
check question.
Oh, so the stimulus checks should start to come out next week. It's $1,200 per person, $500 for a family. It is not taxable. It will not affect your taxes for last year or this year. And again, the first checks, actually, they're not coming out checks. They're going to be electronically deposited in your account. So if you filed income taxes in the last 2 years, they will automatically put the check into your checking account, whatever account number they have for you. And so that's how they're going to send it out. If you've not filed any income taxes, like if you're retired and you haven't filed any income taxes, then they will look and see who hasn't filed versus who they send Social Security checks to, and you will automatically get those checks sent to you if you have a bank account that automatically deposits your Social Security. So those are the kind of the two areas. And then if you just have a check sent to you, then you're going to be, unfortunately, one of the last ones to get a check from the government because those are the last checks they're going to send out. And the $600 question, I guess that was for the unemployment. I'd answered that. That was the federal portion of the unemployment. That $600 a week will not be coming out. I'm understanding that they start to release it next week, sometime at the end of next week. Hope that answered that question. Yeah, and Michael, the question on the visa, I think if your employees are here legally with a visa, work visa, then they qualify. They qualify as an employee because you're paying them. Okay, John, one more question here. Consider moving up some of the CIP projects. Something we'll look at. We have to make sure we have the money before we can move up the CIP projects. With this whole COVID-19, we're not even sure how it's going to impact our sales tax dollars, which obviously, as you know, is the lifeblood of the city. And if we don't have sales tax dollars coming in, we may have to cut some CIP projects. So we'll see. That's still up in the air. Obviously, we're in our middle of our budget process right now, and we'll obviously be taking a hard look at that. We're trying to get the state to give us some more real-time data on tax and tax returns or sales tax dollars. But what happens is those are typically 2 months in the arrears. So we're just getting February's sales tax receipts now. So it's going to be another month before we know how the month of March was affected by this whole COVID-19 shutdown. Hopefully we'll be pleasantly surprised, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. Okay, well, I hope if we missed somebody's, I apologize. There's one here, I missed it, but handling rent and utilities. Well, it depends on what you're talking about. If it's personal rent and utilities, there are some state programs for rent and rent help. The governor also did put a moratorium on evictions from rent, not paying rent. As far as the PPP program or the Paycheck Protection program, you can cover lease and even payments for people's their salaries, of course. Those are the primary uses for that particular program. And also utilities. You can use utilities and lease. You can pay your utilities and lease with that PPP program. Hey, Dallas says, will the rent or mortgage delay be due in full by the end of the delay period? Terry, do you have any idea on that, or Larry? I know they're delaying the beginning of the payments, but I think it's forgiven. I think you actually just start paying again. I don't think you have to pay the last 3 months if they're putting it out 3 months. You just have to start paying in 3 months. I don't think that it's not compounded as I understand it, but I could be wrong. Does anybody know?
I'll take a stab at this question. So, for example, in addition to the PPP and things of that nature, well, let me back up. So in the PPP, you could use part of those proceeds to pay your mortgage interest and your utilities. Now, if you do, all of that may not be forgivable, but you can use it for those purposes. In addition to that, several lenders are working with their existing customers that if they have a mortgage loan and they're going through a difficult financial situation, they may do a deferment of some of those payments. So if there is a deferment in that agreement that you enter into with your lender, it will spell out how that is caught up either at the end or how they're going to work with that. So when you're working with your lender on a deferment, that's part of the whole process, and the repayment of that deferment is also discussed through that part. Now, if you're working with your landlord to try to get a rent deferment, then you need to negotiate with your landlord. How are you going to pay that back? Is it at the end of the lease? Is it a third each month, or is something you need to work out and negotiate?
Yeah, and we did just put a link on this communication that does have some additional information on there's some resources and financial aid for rent and utilities. So if you want to kind of dig into that a little bit. And Mr. Herman, one of our council members, reminded me that not all of the PPP is forgivable. It's really kind of related to how much you use it on payroll. Payroll is the key there. If you maintain at least 75% of all your employees and you're paying them, then some of this other stuff qualifies, and then that's when the loan is forgivable. So be careful with that. And again, work with your banker, make sure you understand the rules, because there are some catches in there. If you don't pay your employees and you lose more than 25% of them, then you start to lose out on how much you can actually forgive on the loan, and you may owe more than you expected. Somebody also asked about, I think it's regarding the stimulus checks in terms of qualifying, and there is a qualifier. If you're an individual and you earn, and this is adjusted gross income, so if you earn an adjusted gross income over 75,000, then it starts to go down. That $1,200 will go down, I think, up to 95,000, and then once you hit 95,000, then it goes away. So there is a reduction for those who earn over 95,000. It actually does go away, and I think per couple it's like 198. Then it goes away. If you're a couple and it's like 150 adjusted gross income, you should get the full amount if you're under that 150. Okay, let's see. My lender gives you 3 different options, but I don't have to pay it all at once. Wells Fargo. Okay, thanks, Lynn. Yeah, there's a lot of different options out there. There's a lot of ways that you can go through this, and again, work with your banker, work with your accountant, and you can work through this, and because there is some money out there to help everybody. Hey, and Terry, I did one question here from Dallas. Do you have to accept the PPP immediately, or when you need it, maybe in another month, or not today? You don't have to start paying it back for a year anyway, do you? So I mean, you have some time that you can use it, but you want to get it now.
So you can apply anytime between now and June 30th. What we're kind of recommending is, if you don't need it right away, kind of see how it's going, but don't wait forever either. So when you sign up for it, you do take all the funds at once, but you can put that in your payroll account and then use those funds to pay your payroll. That's really what it was designed for.
Right.
And then you would apply for your forgiveness after that 8-week period. And then you can go ahead and get your loan forgiven as long as you meet those parameters.
And if you don't use it all, Terry, you can pay it back. There's no prepayment or anything.
Exactly. Correct, Mayor. No prepayment penalty. You can pay it back whenever you want.
Right, exactly. All right, great. Well, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate everybody helping out on this. Thank you, Vicki, for your help. And again, everybody, we'll try and do this again here in the next week or so and give you another update. So you all stay safe out there, stay healthy, and be strong, Casa Grande.
I just said and shop local.
And shop local.